here. I know dripping, they like to come over here, eat our food, enjoy, and leave. So they're welcome to do that. We also, Peter Link, where are you, Peter? Peter. All right, stay standing. So this is Peter, and tonight, it was because of Peter that he connected us with Cory Morrow. Peter actually brought Cory. You came like 3 months or so ago, and so he was Cory's tour manager for a bunch, 5-6 years, and this is a big week for him. Number one, today is his birthday. And then, I'm also named Randy Phillips, and this is where I would start off in a song, but you don't want to hear it. You would think something bad's happening to me. And then really cool, this weekend, Peter was engaged. And it happens to be Regina. Some of these guys weren't excited for you. I don't know. I saw that little hand signal over there. So, but thank you, Peter. Appreciate you. And then one other introduction. Well, actually, two more, but one more introduction. If I could have my great friend Fletch Wiley. Where are you, Fletch? Stand up, Fletch. So, stay standing, Fletch. So Fletch, he's served LifeMen's here for a tremendous amount of time. He is moving on. He has an amazing ministry. It's Art and Heart. So Art and Heart. He's leaving Monday for a month, and he's going to be both in South Africa and in Spain for a month. And I asked him, it'd be a great way to help support the ministry, to bring a few things here. So before you leave here tonight, some of you love this man like I love this man, has been a great friend, to support him in prayer and financially. We would love to be a blessing to Fletch. Fletch, we love you. We appreciate you. You've served this church. For those of you who don't know, he's one of the most amazing musicians and arrangers, literally, and certainly in the kingdom and in the country. And he served us so well. So just thank you, Fletch. And then my last introduction here is brought a couple of friends. My son, many of you have met Tim. Tim has been on this platform here before, but he brought a couple of friends. And this is Brad. Brad, stand up. Ben, stand up. So this is Brad. This is Ben. This is Brad's dad. Okay. So this is Ben. So you'll see a picture here that Ben is dating, Brad, thank you. Brad is dating my granddaughter, so that's my granddaughter. Thank you for that. I love that. And so you can be seated. So for Gabrielle's her name, so for Gabby's birthday, it was Brad, and then Gabrielle, Tim's family, myself, and my wife, Holly. And so we were sitting in Doc B's up at the Domain, and I was noticing over Brad's shoulder was this picture. And so this first picture here, we'll see of this person here. And so as I see over his shoulder, it's up on the wall if you've been to Doc B's. And so I thought, oh, hey, by the way, do you know who that guy is up on the wall there? I was at his house for when I was like 15, 16, at Venice Beach. I went to his house for a party. And so I said, Brad, do you know who that is? Does anybody here know who that is? Jim Horson, of course. He goes, no, I don't know who it is. So, okay, that's no big deal. And I go, do you know who this guy is? No, I don't know who that is. So we go over the wall. I go, well, you would know the guy with the big mouth, right? So you know who this guy is, right? His answer was no. Okay, then maybe he's into chick artists. So, okay, so you see over here on the wall, do you see that? All right, who is it? All right, no. And then, okay, I know he's going to get this one right. As a follower of Jesus, as good an artist as on the planet, do you know who that guy is? Bono, right? No. He says, no. And go, okay. Before you even show this, I go, do you know who those 4 guys are? Who am I going to be pointing to? Who are the 4 guys? Right, here they are. I go, you know who they are? He goes, you said? No. And then Gabby speaks up, goes, Papa, he doesn't know anything but country. And so I go, country. Well, Cory Morrow Peter brought Cory just like a week or so before to one of the barbecues. I didn't meet him at the time, but somebody pointed out, oh, Cory Morrow. So I go, do you know who Cory Morrow is? He goes, Cory Morrow? Of course I know who Cory Morrow is. He's on my top of my playlist. I was listening to him on the way here. So in an introduction here is that we get to invite up on this platform our own rock star lead pastor, Randy Phillips, and someone more famous than the Beatles. Would you give a LifeMen's welcome to Pastor Randy Phillips and Cory Morrow?
Thank you, gentlemen. Well, I'm so glad you're here. My goodness, this place is packed, and it's just wonderful. Thank you, particularly those of you that your first time with us. Really glad you're here. Cory Morrow is a Texas country legend.
Bigger than the Beatles.
Bigger than the Beatles, or you two. Bono.
That's the best intro I've ever had, RT.
It's awesome.
You busy later this month?
Publicist. But I'm really glad you're here. Cory, thank you. Thank you. You could be a lot of places, and one would be at home. But you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor.
I've always loved you, loved your music, and love what you stand for. Love your vulnerability, your transparency, and your music is outstanding. Do you remember the first song you ever wrote? Or the first song you ever...
I remember the first song I ever wrote, and then there was... I can't remember how to play it, but then I remember there's a song first song I actually really ever played in front of an audience, but I didn't see the audience because I had my eyes shut the whole time.
Yeah. Can you sing a little of it? You remember it?
Which one?
Either one.
Either one. The first one was, I don't believe it's going to rain today. I don't believe the sun is ever going to go away. Something about the sky and a big dude, and I don't remember the rest.
Do you remember
about the sun and
the second?
The second one was a little more. It was. I know I'm just a lonely old man. It seems that my life has made me what I am. But if you listen to me for a while, I'll tell you of an angel's smile. Oh, she was a vision in the night. Her hair glowing from full moonlight. And as I stared, my eyes became unbound, because there and then I knew that she was what I had not found. Bigger than the Beatles. I mean, come on.
You're bigger. You're a poet. When did you know you were musical? When did you know your music was something people wanted to hear?
I was being taken home. I was in like elementary school by a friend of my mom's, and in the back seat there was a harmonica, and I asked if I could pick it up and start blowing on it, and she said yes. And so I had fun driving her crazy on the ride home, and she got me one for Christmas. And each one of those little harmonicas comes with how to play When the Saints Go Marching In and Oh Susanna. And so I picked it up and I read how to do that, and I played both of those all through Christmas one year. And oddly enough, the harmonica disappeared a couple weeks later. But they started buying me different harmonicas. Apparently, you have to have different harmonicas for all the different keys, And so I got into that, and then I got into trumpeting. I played the trumpet in junior high. And then when I was about 14 or 15, my stepdad and my mom came home with a guitar that they had gotten from a coin toss in Mexico, in a border town off of Matamoros. It's a good story.
Yeah. And so you took to the guitar pretty quickly?
They gave me that, and it came with lessons. I got a guitar with lessons for I think it was my birthday, and went in there, brought the guitar, and the teacher was like, "Is that what you're going to use?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "We got to get you something else." So I got another guitar, an electric guitar, and I started learning on that all through high school. And my stepdad had an Alvarez acoustic that he kept in the closet. He was always threatening to learn how to play, and he never did. And so I would go in there and see, "Can I play your guitar?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess so." And he'd get all bent out of shape because he's mad because he never learned. And I was taking lessons, so I'd pull it out and I'd play on it, and that's the guitar I wrote that song on. But yeah, so it became something that I was really passionate about in high school, and then took it with me to college, to Texas Tech in Lubbock in '91, fall '91, and I brought my electric with my amp to the dorm room, and I stayed in Weymouth, which is one of the 12-story highest buildings there. And I was on the 12th floor, which is really fun during tornado drill, where you have to go up and down the 12 stories. And but I would turn my thing all the way up and then get out there and play my best Led Zeppelin licks. And everybody'd be coming down and be like, "Wow." And I only knew about 30 seconds of each Led Zeppelin song. It was enough to draw people in. But yeah, I had my acoustic guitar, and there were guys in my fraternity listening to these people called Robert Earl Keen and Steve Earle and Jerry Jeff Walker, and I had heard of Jerry Jeff and Willie, but I hadn't heard of the others, but they were just fanatical about them, and they knew every word. We'd ride around and they knew every word, and I'm like, "What is this?" And we sat around one night and they were trying to learn "The Road Goes On Forever," and I don't know if it's 3 chords.
3 chords.
3 chords, D, G, and A. And I was like, they're sitting there and their tape player, play, stop, rewind, play. And they're trying to figure out what the chords are. And I'm sitting there looking at them, and I'm looking around, and I'm going, I know what chords they are. And I'm watching, I'm getting kind of bent out of shape. And I said, "Can I see that? Can I try?" "Yeah." So I took it and I played it. I said, "I think it's this. Cher was a waitress at the only joint in town. She had a reputation." I said, played it like that. And they just looked at me like, "What did you do? How did you do that?" So it kind of, the light bulb popped at that point where I thought, some amazing lyrics, which I love the English language, and 3 chords, and a half decent voice. And I thought I can pull off at least one of the 2 of those maybe. And so that was kind of where I started leaning, and I started listening to more of his music and realized it was way more than 3 chords and some words. And I just fell in love with songwriting and fell in love with the whole scene that was developing at the time.
Why country? Why not another genre?
Because rock and roll is way too hard to play.
Okay.
You got to be really, really good, and I was always just sort of an okay guitar player.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to sing at all, and so it was like country, like I said, 3 chords and some words, and you don't have to be a good singer. And I thought, well, I can give this a go.
I got that.
I might be able to pull this off.
Pat Green, he's also a Texas Tech Red Raider.
Yep.
Was he at the same time you were there?
Yep, he was. We got there about the same time. We didn't meet until about a year after we were both in, but he'll give me credit for teaching him how to play the guitar, which is not true. And we were never roommates, and we didn't date any of the same girls. I did borrow his Suburban to go play some gigs in Colorado. But yeah, we met, and we had a buddy who had a wall full of CDs, and we would go over to his house and pull a CD off, and like John Denver, and we put the John Denver CD in, and we were all sitting around, and we all loved music, so we sat around listening to music, and we pulled our guitars out, and we tried to learn how to play those songs by ear, and trying to make sure that the guitar was in tune with the song was one thing, because we didn't have the internet, and we didn't have enough money to buy a tuner, so we were going off of ear, and neither one of us are very good. I don't know how we pulled this off, but we were able to make the song sound half decent. So we learned that song, and we learned a couple more songs, and everybody was loving it. And we were just sitting around playing stuff that we pull off, all kinds of different weird music, Kenny Rogers and everything. And we're having a ball, and we did it one week, and then we did it another week, and then it turned into 2 times a week, and then 4 times a week. And eventually somebody said, "Man, this is really fun." It's looking at a room full of guys, but it'd really be neat if there were some girls here.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come over to David's apartment because it's disgusting. So how about we get you guys a gig? And we were like, "Man, I don't like to fish, but whatever you want to do." So, no, this is a gig. I was like, "Oh, a gig. What is a gig?" Neither one of us. So they got us a gig at a place called Bash Rip Rocks on near the campus. And we played, and it was about a 50-seat room, and about 100 people showed up, and we we had music stands with spiral notebooks with the words drawn out to all the songs we knew, and you drew the letter of where the chord changed at what part in the word, And so neither one of us sang harmony, but we figured harmony was just singing louder than the other guy.
Yeah, it is. Basically, it is.
It's not how it works, and so it was really painful. But we did it, and we each had one song that we had written, and all these covers, and we played for 2 or 3 hours, and everybody was going bananas, just loving sort of the idea of what we were doing, because I don't think it was very good. And then we did it again the next week, and there weren't that many people at all. But we went to Taco Cabana, and we made $100 the first night. Yeah, and I dropped 50 of it on tacos for everybody. And Pat spent 99 cents and got himself a water and a dozen tortillas and some butter and honey. And that's foreshadowing for how each of us has handled our money. And that was it for me.
Okay.
I wanted to play music. I wanted to write. I wanted to chase down that dream. And that was the very beginning. And I moved home, told my mom I was going to quit school. This is about 4.5 semesters in. And she was not happy at all and sent me to the family shrink. And I convinced him that it was a good idea. And he told my stepdad and my mom that it was a good idea, and that didn't go over very well. And I worked for stepdad for about 6 months, saved up enough money, and moved to Austin. And I lived with my cousin in Lakeway. And then I got my first apartment on Nelson Street behind Waterloo Records off 6th Street. And that was where it all began for me. I started reading Willie Nelson's autobiography, learning how to smoke cigarettes and drink wild turkey by myself.
Yeah.
I was doing it with my friends in college. I learned how to do it on my own there. Yeah.
Your bio is, can I read something from your bio?
Please, yeah.
So these are not my words. These are yours, or somebody's.
Somebody's.
Cory Morrow didn't become a Texas legend by being quiet. He sings about strippers and Jesus with equal fervor.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a hard one. That's going to be a tough one to explain to my daughter.
This is your family. Let's talk about your daughter. Here's your family.
Hey.
All right. Your wife, Sherry.
Correct.
And then tell us, you got 5 kids?
My daughter, Sherry. My son, Bear. My other son, Waylon. The twins are Wesley, closest to me, and Wesley with the hat on, and Worth. And that's Daisy Diane, our daughter. So we got 12, 11, just turned 9, and she's 6. And she was born on my birthday.
Wow.
We're
Cool.
birthday buddies, and so I'm still 45.
Yes, you are. What a beautiful family. And where are y'all right there?
That's at Minute Maid Park. That was Monday for Game 7.
How'd that turn out?
It's great. It's great. The Rangers won. Real happy. I'm happy for them. Way to go, Peter.
That's Peter.
Peter's the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We didn't give up. I'll just say
No,
that.
that was good.
Yeah, well, everybody. We were invited by some really nice folks to a suite, and they had, it was starting to go downhill, and we just saw people leaving, and I thought, man, that stinks. I mean, I know we're not going to win, but this is Game 7 of the ALCS, and it's like, see it through to the end, right?
Yeah.
And
It's
we
just
did.
like my sermons on Sunday.
Right.
I hit a certain spot,
Right. Exactly like that.
like a bomb scare.
You turn around for a second, and then
Oh, they're gone.
where'd they go?
Like, hey.
That's what happens if I start talking too much on stage. I go off onto a tangent, and the band is going like this. Cory, shut up and play.
Do you remember the first time you heard your song played on the radio?
I do.
What was that like?
It was a song called "The Preacher," and it was here in Austin. And I was driving for a courier company, and I was in my truck going down Mopac. I was around Far West Boulevard, and it was on. It was KGSR, and it was what was his name? He had like 2 first names, like Matt Matthews or something like that.
Matt Mark.
Something like that. Matt Moore, right? But we put it in his box at that station, and the next morning I'm listening, thinking there's no way, and sure enough, he popped it in and said, this is a brand new song from a brand new artist, and it started playing, and I'm driving, I'm swerving, and we don't have cell phones back then, so it's like, and I had a 2-way radio, so I'm calling into the dispatcher, playing a song, KGSR. And everybody's chiming in, oh, way to go. And because courier companies are made up of a bunch of musicians trying to make it. And it's a fact. And especially back in the 90s. And I was trying to pull over to get to a payphone so I could call my band to tell them that it was playing. And I didn't make it because I just couldn't find a payphone.
Yeah. What was that feel like to hear yourself on the radio?
It was amazing. I wish I hadn't spent so much time speeding and almost causing wrecks trying to get to a phone, but it was amazing. Like I don't like the way I sound. You start critiquing it, but it was definitely, there was a high going on there, and thinking I like the way that feels. I like the way that sounds. I want more of that. I want more attention. Yeah. And that was sort of that was the focal point for a long time.
The masculine icon for music is the loner, the lonely man, the one that rides into town, loves the ladies, drinks hard, jumps on the bus, goes to the next city, and that's the masculine musical icon for so many genres, particularly country, rock, all of them. But did you feel the need to, once your music became more popular, did you feel the need to be that image that you had seen?
Very much, yeah. And I didn't know all this until I had gotten things figured out and sorted out in my life. But starting off when I was young, my parents divorced when I was about 3, and I lived with my mom and my 2 older sisters. The middle child, I was the baby. She was special needs, and so there was this. It was stressful for me growing up without a man in the house. And my stepdad came in when I was about 9, married my mom when I was 11, and he and I did not get along. He loved me, and I loved him back, but it was a really tumultuous relationship. He loved to smoke weed, and he drank, and he liked to go to strip clubs. And so I would see my dad every other weekend, and we were more like friends instead of having a father figure. So I really grew up without having a father figure in my life, anybody to lead me and show me what it looked like. And what I was seeing, what was in my surroundings, what was in my general vicinity was objectifying women at strip clubs and drinking and smoking grass and being the loudest person in the room. And so being a rock star pretty much filled all those requirements. And so when things started to happen and I started to have any kind of success, I went directly for that. And a lot of drinking, which led to a lot of drugs, and a lot of taking advantage of women and objectifying them, and not really recognizing what that was until later, and how damaging that was for them and for me on a very deep spiritual level. And then wanting to be the most popular person in the room, and wanting everybody to look at the back of my jersey, and just like the songs. And I would try to write songs that would glorify that lifestyle, and I wanted people to think that I was cool and that I had all this stuff going on. And it was a big act.
Where was faith in your life? Was Jesus Christ, did you grow up religious? Did you have faith growing up?
Not really. I mean, so I was baptized when I was an infant. We were Presbyterian, and then when I was in elementary school, my mother would let me spend the night at my buddy's house who was Baptist, and they knowing that they'd go to church every Sunday. So I got to go to church a fair amount when I was in elementary school, and we would go for Christmas and Easter as a family, but we didn't go, and we didn't talk about it, and it wasn't part of the table talk. When I was in junior high, she sent me to a church called Leah Lodge Youth Camps out in Kerrville. And I accepted Jesus into my life when I was about 12 or 13, 14, and down by the Frio River, and came home and was so excited and filled up and fired up, and that didn't really take root at the house. And then there was Young Life. I was going to Young Life, but it again wasn't really nurtured or cultivated at the house. So there wasn't a whole lot of, and then with my father, that just wasn't what we did. You know, loving Jesus, talking about Jesus was not part of the conversation. And it wasn't like they didn't like Jesus. They just, you know, it just wasn't part of our lives.
Sherry, when did you marry Sherry?
Not soon enough.
Yeah.
October the 6th, 2008. So we just had a 15
Was it
year.
when you married her, I'm guessing that you felt you would be faithful to her, the lifestyle you were living. Did you say, I can put that aside, or was it two avenues of your life that didn't intersect? The rock star and that life, and your role as a husband.
So with the objectification of women and the whole trying to conquer that whole scene, I also thought at some point, in somewhere along the way, that if I found the right woman, that all these problems that I knew I had would get fixed. And especially if she loved Jesus, I always kind of knew that that was the thing that was missing in my life. And I never went down that road, but I just knew from all the different seeds that were planted in my life. I thought, man, if I could go that direction, I think things would be better. But it just doesn't fit the environment that I'm in. And so when I met her, I thought she was the one. I always thought, you find the one, she'll save you and she'll set you free. And I wrote songs for her telling her that. And she knew Jesus, her family knew Jesus, and she loved the Lord. And so she'd kind of look at me and say, that's really cute that you say that, but you're an idiot. And, so she'd never heard my music before, and she didn't know anything about me. And that was a big pop to my ego, but it was also a wonderful opportunity. Because about a little less than a year before we met, I had been arrested for DWI and possession of cocaine here in Austin, and lost my sponsorship, and I have several sponsorships, and almost lost my career completely, and went through an enormous depression and funk, and wasn't sure I was going to pull out of it. And I met her, and she's like, didn't know anything about that, and she didn't know anything about me. And so I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to be the best person that I could figure out how to be. So I dreamed up what it looked like to be a good man. Yeah. And I stepped into that role to be a good man for her. And I did a good job for about a year and a half. And let me dive into that.
So I remember coming off of a 15-city tour and walking to my house and like a 2x4 upside the head. And so my wife said, I think our marriage is over. I'm a Christian man and singing Christian music, but touring, not home. My wife, like a single parent, raising her daughter, but I wasn't there. The allure of that life, that's the thing, Cory. Your heart is so conflicted, because when you're on the road, you feel like, I need to be home. Then when you're home, you can't think of anything but
Amen.
Being on the road. You felt that?
Amen. Yes. You feel like a hero when you're on the road, and everybody loves you and adores you, and they don't really know you. So you can fulfill that role. And when you're home, they know you, and they see the real you, and you don't like the real you, and so you want to get away from that. Or there's also the responsibility of wanting to provide, and sitting still is just a natural, counterintuitive thing for a man. I want to be out there providing. But yeah, it was definitely. It was hard. I didn't give up the lifestyle that I was living. And that's not conducive to being a husband and being a father.
So I remember the 2x4 upside my head. Do you remember the 2x4 upside yours?
I do.
This is asking a lot, and I'm sorry.
Sure.
And if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. Can you take us to that moment?
Yeah. So we have 4 wake-up calls that my wife and I talk about that happened in my life before the final one. The first one was at 25 years old, went to the 7th floor of the Methodist Hospital for depression. Was admitted there by my mom and my stepdad because things weren't working out for me in the music business, and I had to kind of wake up. The next one was I totaled my car with my best friend in it over there at William Cannon and 290 at 6:30 in the morning. He'd been drinking, and I'd been drinking and doing drugs, and so I was perfectly fine to drive us home. And at 120 miles an hour, I looked up and realized that light was yellow turning red, and we were not 150 yards from the light. We made it through the light and wrecked and into the woods, and we survived. Nobody died, but it was our friendship has never been the same since. And then I overdosed on drugs in my house, and woke up and had my eyes were stuck cross-eyed, and I thought that I had given myself brain damage from all the drugs that I had done, and I thought I was going to be forever stuck like this. And I wasn't. Thank you. I was then the next one was, I guess, the arrest and the charges and everything that went along with that. And the last one was with my wife. I came home. I went to a Denver Broncos game, September 23rd, 2012, and came home the next morning. Had been out on the town in Denver trying to talk a stripper into coming home with me, and was unsuccessful. But got on the airplane, flew home, and was met by my wife, who asked for my phone, and we went home and in silence. And I'm thinking she knew about what had happened that night before. And we got home, and she said, "I know you've done something, and if you'll tell me the truth, we might have a chance. And if you don't, then we're done." So sitting there at the table with I've got a 1.5-year-old boy and 1 month old, and I'm trying to figure out what she knows, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get out of this. So I've lied my way out of a lot of things in that first 1.5 years, and I couldn't. It wasn't one thing, and that's what was killing me. And I sat there and I'm panicking, and I felt this odd sensation, and all of a sudden I felt like there was this bright light coming through the ceiling, and I felt this warmth over me, and felt this kind of like peace, and this inclination telling me to tell her, confess. And I'm just sitting there thinking, no way. And tell her everything. And I'm just like, everything? So I start with the most obvious. My wife pointed this out. I've been able to tell the story for many years now, for the last 6 or 7 years. And she pointed out recently, she said, you didn't actually listen to the voice, because you didn't jump in and start confessing. You just tried to pick the most obvious one, and that wasn't it. And I was like, you're right, I didn't listen. But I told the most obvious one, that wasn't it. And when I told her, I had this feeling of a weight lifting off of me, because I didn't have to carry that around anymore. And then I saw it weigh her down. And this went on for about an hour, 2 hours, where I tried to remember the things that I'd done and figure out what it was. And at some point, it was sort of just, there was this, was it this? Well, there's this, was it this? And it turned out to be something that I had been planning to do that I hadn't done. And it was just we call it the best, worst day of our life. Because I got to be free of all the secrets and the things that I'd been hiding from her. I went down the street and confessed to my parents-in-law. And I was actually met with forgiveness from them. And my father-in-law he said, we love you and we forgive you, but this isn't about you anymore. This is about her, and you need to pull your bootstraps up and go home, and you need to be there for her no matter what happens. He went into the other room and came back with a couple of sheets of paper and handed it to me, and it said biblical marriage, biblical manhood, and it had all these words from this book called Ephesians or something. And so I took it home, and I called a friend of mine, and I told him that my marriage was over and I didn't know what to do, and I had tried everything else, and I think maybe I need to try this Jesus guy. And it's like, do you know him? He's like, yeah, I know him. I said, well, can you introduce me? Because I don't know what else to do. So he started meeting with me every Monday for about a year, taking me to men's groups like this, taking me to Bible studies, introduced me to other men of God. And on the first men's group at 6 a.m. in Cedar Park, which is an hour away from where I live, and it takes me an hour to get this pretty, so I had to wake up at 4 a.m. And it was only about a month after, and my buddy who I was meeting with on Mondays, he said, you should memorize a scripture. It'll help you in times of trouble. And in the very beginning, we were coming to the conclusion and realization that I was struggling with women, and that I couldn't look at a woman without going there in my mind. And it was just this horrible, when I'm sober, it became way more apparent. And so I pulled out the paper that my father-in-law gave me, and I looked in there, and Ephesians 4:2 says, be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. And I thought, I am not humble, I am not gentle, I am not patient, and I don't bear well with others. I'm the guy in traffic that cuts you off and then flips you off. So I thought this would be a good one for me. Memorized it. I show up at that Bible study at 6 in the morning, and I walk down the stairs, and it's on the screen. It's the only thing that says Ephesians 4:2 on the screen. And that's when I went home and told my wife that there's a conspiracy with Christian faith. All the churches, they're all in this thing together to try to convince you to come give money to the church. And she said, yeah, that's probably what it is. And that was the beginning of what I call the beginning of my marriage and the beginning of my life. I stopped drinking and stopped chasing women and stopped doing drugs, and I realized that there was an underlying common denominator with all the choices that I was making, and I was drinking before all of them. So I removed that, and then the others sort of fell away, and I started chasing him. And I remember I was at a retreat in Kyle Buda called Tres Dias, and it was on Sunday morning, the last day, and I'm taking a shower, and I'm standing there in the shower, and I'm scrubbing, I'm looking at my hand, and I'm thinking, there's no way that I can think to myself, do that, and my hand does that, and I can think to myself, do that, and my hand does that. That didn't just happen. Like, there has to be a God. There has to be a higher power. And if it's Jesus and if it's you, then I'm gonna believe that that's true. And so I'm gonna give myself to you. And that was in the water, sort of baptizing in the shower, and that's when I really took off and started chasing him down, and everything started to change from that day.
How did your band see you, the before and after Cory? How did Peter see you over there? Did they believe what was happening, the transformed Cory was genuine?
Peter knew what was going on. He came back there one day, and instead of being in the back with my computer and a sock or some girl, I was back there with my Bible and some notebook and some books. And I was not a reader, but I became a voracious reader for several years. And he's looking at me, he's looking at the Bible, and he goes, I know what you're doing. What am I doing? He's like, oh, good luck. It really just gives me so much peace and comfort to see him here and to see him plugged in, and to know that we're both chasing after the same love and that it's changing our lives. I just wanted to tell you that, and I love you. He was there, and then I'm not really sure. I struggle with the remembering of things correctly, but at some point I let everybody in the band go, and I changed management, and I changed everybody that was around me to try to bring in, surround yourself with wise counsel. And I just kept thinking about that, surround yourself with wise counsel. Go out into the world and be in the world but not of the world, and be a light, shine a light and I just didn't think I could do that when I was surrounded by the same folks that may or may not have supported what I was wanting to do and changing my life. And I didn't think that changing my music, of the direction of the songs that I wrote, and the shows that I did was necessarily the right thing to do, but who I was off stage needed to be who I was at home, and who I was on the stage I was trying to figure that out. But yeah, everything changed, and I put rules up, said no girls ever allowed on the bus unless it's a wife or a sister, or something to that effect. No girls are allowed on the bus, and set up guardrails, watched a lot of Andy Stanley videos, and learned a lot about how to protect myself, and read Every Man's Battle, and I was on a mission to fix the brokenness in me with his help, and asking him to lead me into deeper into the mirror, because I would look in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw, and I wanted to get to a place where I looked in the mirror and I saw what he saw, and that I could love me in an narcissistic way, but that I could be able to be loved, and so it definitely was not necessarily welcome. I remember we did one show and this guy came up, and we were acquaintances, and he said, "Heard you quit drinking." Yeah, I did. And he goes, "Bullshit." So, and he walked off. And I didn't see him again for like 5 years. And I was just like, oh, good to know we're close.
And he was a friend? Okay.
But it's just sort of like there were those, and I remember seeing posts about. I remember specifically one post said, "You've just changed from being outlaw to being all about Jesus. I'm out of here. I'm out. No longer a fan." I was just like, wow, okay. And those were men. The objectification and chase of women and the chasing of women was due to an enormous insecurity of not knowing who I was, and didn't know what being a man meant. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know what the definition of being a man was. Like, what makes you a man? Well, in my world, it was you have to have sex, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I paid for the first time, and it was the most horrible, humiliating thing in my life, and it'll be with me the rest of my life. But that was indicative of like the rest of that season of my life. It was like the beginning of the end for me. I didn't like myself, and it's just due to God's grace and mercy that I made it through some of the things that I've made it through. And I feel like He's always been with me. He's always been right next to me. And I didn't call out to Him unless I needed Him. But He never left me. And yeah, everything changed that day. And the band, the crowds, and girls, they would, and I would just look at them and say, "Can't talk to you. I can't talk to you." And it was weird. It was very awkward. But the longer that I did it, the longer that I went down this direction, the more I asked my brothers. I mean, I started going to Bible studies. I had 2 or 3 Bible studies a week. And I was just, like I said, I was just committed, and I wanted to change my life. And I was talking with RT about this, the thing that, I'm sorry if I'm jumping, but
Oh, go ahead.
the thing that was the most important to me was not saving my marriage, which was really weird. I did want to save my marriage more for the sake of my kids so that they wouldn't grow up in a broken home. But I got to the point where I realized what needed saving was me. And I came to this place where I just looked up and I just said, I give you my marriage. I give you my whole life. Just show me who you are and show me who you want me to be. And when I committed my marriage to him and gave up trying to fix it, I said, if you want me to be married, I'll want to be married. If you don't want me to be married, then I'm going to go wherever you lead. It was on that day that my wife actually saw a change in me, and she looked at me and she said, I'm in. We're not gonna get divorced as long as things stay on this path. So it was tremendous relief to let go of thinking that I can control the outcome of my marriage by doing whatever I can do to fix it, by being the best me that I can be. That didn't work.
Yeah. I love you, Cory, for your transparency, brutal transparency. There's around every table there's a couple hundred guys here, I suppose, something like that, 250. What do you say to the fellow, of which we all are around this table, that has things to hide? We're compartmentalizing, we're erasing search histories, we're making sure we've got everything covered, that she doesn't see it or they don't see it. And that is an agonizing life. The life of duplicity is depleting. What would you say to the fellows around this table about their journey to come out of that darkness and be a man with nothing to hide?
The brutal, honest truth is, you're asking what I would say, and I would say, sacrifice that which you hold most dear to him, and wherever your wherever your heart, that's where your treasure is.
Yeah.
I'm saying it wrong, but
It's
essentially,
fine. We got it.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
My marriage was my treasure, and I held on to it closer than I was holding on to him. And I would say, if you're hiding things from her, you got to come to a place where you are willing to be transparent with her and having the consequences of that be on the table. Okay. Because I don't think that it's a real journey as a man committed to his wife and committed to the Lord if you're continuing to do those things. And it's the scariest thing in the world, but it's also the most, you just don't know what she's, you just don't know.
Okay. So with the for the man that is going to come into the light, out of the darkness, shine light on all of the dark areas, it's terrifying, but it's so incredibly freeing. What is the role of a man in your life, a fellow brother, somebody around the table? What does that role play in you coming into fullness of light and living as a man with nothing to hide?
I think a real brother in Christ is going to encourage you to be honest and to be open and to confess and to come to the place where you're on your knees before her and before God, and that you want to make a change. And that you're not just doing it to get forgiveness from her, but you're doing it so that you can be raw and be open and be available to God to actually go to work in you. He's not going to be able to go to work in you if you're holding on to these secrets and these lies, because he knows those things. And so it's a real brother in Christ, a community like this would grab you and hold you and say, let's go do this together, and we're with you. And I think that there's going to be more than just you and her at the table. I think there would be the brothers and their wives, and it would be sort of like a big love.
The upside of walking into the light out of darkness is worth it?
It's the only way.
Okay. It's so scary to get there,
100%.
but worth it.
There's no comparison.
Okay.
I don't ever want to go back to the life I was living. I screw up. I've cleared web browsers since that day, and I've come to my wife and confessed, and we walk through it again, and she forgives me. And the more that I confess things, the more that I'm transparent with her, because we're going to screw up. But if we're hanging on to it, thinking I just won't do that again, I just won't do that again, then we're lying to her, we're lying to ourselves, and we're lying to him. And I think that if we get into a habit of being honest and coming more often than not to confess the things that we're doing wrong in the hopes that we can fix it, the journey will really begin here. And then your marriage is going to be incredible. I mean, the relationship that we have now is 180 degrees different than what we had before. The word love coming off of her lips is different than it was when we first met.
Wow. Thank you, Cory. In just a moment, we're going to ask our fellas to talk about the most impactful thing that you said here. There's so many things. But before we do that, can you sing for us? All right.
Going hot. All right. Thank you for letting me come here and talk to everybody, and I thank you guys for coming in and wanting to listen. The direction of the songs that I've written since that day, September 24th, 2012 was the day that it all went down. And the direction of the music is from before that day, there was a sense of what I've come to realize, and from my going back and listening to my music up to that point, was there was a hope and a search and a yearning for something more, and that there was a belief in that there was a love or something that could fill the emptiness in my life, aside from fame and money and women. And since that day, there's been a feeling of the search is over, and the journey's just begun, but the search is over, and I've found that thing, and it's more of a celebration of that love that I was looking for. And this song sort of wraps up for me the way things were and how it all came together. Used to be you could find me out on the town. I'd be pouring my heart out for anyone who was around. I'd be drinking, screaming, crying, throwing money around, trying to get out of my mind, 'cause it's not sound. Filling my days with too much sleep and greasy food, finding great big holes in my memory and in the walls of my room. Well, I left the campus, but I never quit my college ways. Yeah, back then I thought that living was just outrunning all of my mistakes. I held on to freedom like it was all I owned. I never really had it till the day I let it go. giving it all up for you. There's a love divine, oh, in everything you do. In this world I am blind, but I don't mind. I give it up to you. Yeah, I give it up to you. Whoa, whoa. Well, the past comes back around too many times to bite my heels. I hear all them dogs barking. They say the truth must be revealed. So I hit the highway, but that's just another broken home. Yeah, I'm not one to tie myself down, but I don't want to be alone. And I held on to freedom like it was all I knew. I never really had it till the day it led to you. And I don't mind giving it all up for you. There's a love divine, oh, in everything you do. In this world I am blind, but I don't mind. I give it up to you, yeah. Hey, I give it up to you, yeah. Oh, I give it up, I give it up, I give it up to you, yeah. I give it up, I give it up, I give it up to you, yeah.
Time for the show to begin. Time's up, buddy. So that was kind of the beginning of everything going on and trying to find my way through all this. And writing songs has been a really great therapy for me. My mom, instead of sending me to a church, talk to the preacher, she would send me to the therapist. I've been going to a therapist since I was 9 years old, and we actually had a family therapist. And yeah, so the music is my therapy, and writing songs is sort of like a biography of my life. And this is a more current version of the same song. Honey, I bet you got a long list of real good questions. Maybe even heard some rumors about the things I did. Sit your pretty little self down, have a drink and listen. Let me set you straight on the story of this Houston kid. I made a lot of trouble, I made lots of love. Been in the kind of places I wish I never was. I learned the kind of lessons teachers don't teach us on this road between cocaine and Jesus. I've had my picture in every paper, from poor David's to do-si-do. They paid me money to strum this guitar, and the younger me, well, he would have spent it all on blow. Oh, don't you know, I made a lot of trouble, I made lots of love, been in the kind of places I wish I never was. I learned the kind of lessons teachers don't teach us on this road between cocaine and Jesus. Now both will get you high, but one will leave you low. You'll run out of one. One's with you everywhere you go. And take a look at me, and take a look at you. We're all just searching for that 100% pure, uncut truth. And the truth is, we all make a lot of trouble, we all make a lot of love, been in the kind of places wish we never was. Learn the kind of lessons teachers don't teach us on this road between cocaine and Jesus. On this road between cocaine and Jesus.
Cory Morrow, everybody. Cory Morrow.